I'm Stacy Banks. I work in the city manager's office at the city of Wixom. If you look at your program on the back there, you'll see a list of organizations that we are very grateful to for bringing us this wonderful exhibit. One of the organizations is the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs. They were kind enough to give us a grant to bring the exhibit to the library. It was a grant through the re-granting agency of the Anton Art Center. The purpose of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs is to bring arts to the people of Michigan, specifically their youth. So I'm very proud to introduce Jorian Gallo, a very young lady who will start our program tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jorian Gallo and I'm 11 years old. I'm honored to host this reception tonight. I've read many books, watched movies, and learned a lot about the Holocaust. I am humbled to be included in this amazing program. We all owe our thanks to the Polish mission of the Orchard Lake Schools for working with the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum of Poland to bring this exhibit to the United States. Please join me in welcoming Mr. J.J. Przwozniak of the Polish mission of Orchard Lake Schools.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Chancellor Rector of the Orchard Lake Schools, Monsignor Tom Michalski, and all of our colleagues and partners who have undertaken the great effort to ensure that this event is as successful as you can see that it is, I'd like to thank you all very much for being here. And now just a word about my organization. Before there was Ford Motor Company, before there was Coca-Cola, there was a Polish mission of the Orchard Lake Schools. In 1885, in Detroit, it was founded by an immigrant priest by the name of Father Józef Dąbrowski, who at my organization we always called Father Joe, as an affectionate moniker. And he famously once said that education alone makes men free. He was a Polish patriot, he was an American patriot, and thanks to his vision, we at the Polish Mission are proud to be North American partners with Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum of Poland. To many people, Auschwitz is a symbol. To some, it's a symbol of hatred, where the most evil parts of humanity flourished. To some, today, it's a sign of hope, that by understanding these evils of the past, by understanding the terrible tragedies of our time, we can hope to achieve a brighter future. And still to many others, Auschwitz is like a mirror in which we can potentially see ourselves and what we are capable of as human beings. The answer to this question of what is Auschwitz, what is this authentic site, what is this collection, this complex of buildings, of barbed wire, this is a question that only you can answer. And this question is the reason why we have undertaken to bring the Forbidden Art exhibit to 16 venues throughout the United States. And I'm very proud to salute the men and women of this and the community of the city of Wixom, and especially Mayor Kevin Hinckley for his wisdom and vision in bringing this educational program to your community. And I'd also like to take a brief moment to thank someone whose dedication and whose extreme passion for excellence has allowed this program to be here. And that's Ms. Stacy Banks. Please join me. And I'd also like to welcome, I have the privilege of introducing the person who will speak after me is a person whose wisdom is absolutely an inspiration. I'm privileged to call her a friend. She is my associate. And to introduce her, I would like to welcome our young MC back. Jordan, if you'd come on back up really quick. And thank you everybody for having us here.
Thank you, Mr. Przbosniak. I am now honored to introduce Ms. Teresa Wontor-Ciher, one of the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum of Poland. The work Ms. Wontor-Ciher will speak of tonight has a great history and is very interesting for all of us. Teresa Ciher is a historian at the Research Center of Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. She is the author of several historical publications and a lecturer on several aspects of the Auschwitz camp history. Please welcome, all the way from Poland, Teresa Wontor-Ciher.
Thank you very much. I have to say it's the most beautiful introduction. I have to say my husband especially, his name is Ciche, my maiden name is Wontor, which is easier for the foreigners, but Ciche is in some countries is unpronounceable, so I have to tell him that here in United States the students are extremely talented and coping with all the difficult names so easily, so thank you so much. It's my great honor and privilege to be here today with the task to tell you a little bit more about history of Auschwitz. As I was introduced for the last almost 20 years, I've been working in Auschwitz Memorial. I am a historian and my work is focused on the historical approach for this place. As again it was told in the introduction, I published several books and articles dealing with different aspects of Auschwitz history. I also provide lectures, I lead workshops for young people, as in the museum we've got youth coming from all over the world to see the place, to learn, to think, to analyze, to come to some conclusions. And we work with them, we help them, we provide material. So the exhibition we have here today, it's one of the elements which is helping us to teach about history of this place. Before we start, we have to notice that Auschwitz, in fact, it's not only one place. We associate it as the infamous Arbeit macht frei gate. But Auschwitz was just 3 major camps and the 40 sub-camps. How did it all happen? How did it all start? In September 1939, when the German forces attacked Polish territory, the western and the southwestern part of the country was incorporated into Nazi Germany. The same year, the same month, Poland was also attacked from the east by the Soviet forces. So from the political point of view, Poland as a state disappeared from the map of Europe. And in many places, the mass arrests started to be in towns and cities. The local prisons became overcrowded so often. So for that basic reason, the German authority was looking for the better places to isolate all the people who were considered as leading groups, as people who can join the resistance movement. At the beginning, they were mainly educated people, teachers, lawyers, physicians, journalists. So several places were considered as another isolation place, as the model how to organize concentration camp was already known in Nazi Germany, as Dachau, Ravensbrück, Sachsenhausen. These camps already existed in Germany. So several places were considered by the German commissions, and abandoned Polish army base was found as the most suitable place. Abandoned because of the September defeat, September in 1939. And very shortly, the place itself became too small, as there were more and more deportees coming. So eventually, the nearby village, the name of which Brzezinka was very shortly changed into German Birkenau, was to become another camp, much bigger, many times bigger. From the first documentation, from the constructional drawings, we know that the idea was to build the camp for over 100,000 prisoners. And not only the village was destroyed, but also the few surrounding places disappeared. The material of the ruined houses was used basically for the new constructions. And since, according to the idea of concentration camps, the prisoners were to be used as slave labor in German economy, so the factories, the coal mines, other type of industry also benefited enormously from the slave labor. So some of the sub-camps were located in some distance from Auschwitz, by coal mines, by factories. And again, not far away from the main camp, as Auschwitz was, they started to build new factory. IG Farben Industry, huge German chemical corporation, started the construction, and the sub-camp was also located there. I mention this fact because some of the survivors of Auschwitz you may be familiar with, like for example Primo Levi or Elie Wiesel, they were in this particular camp. So what we may read in their publications is just describing what happened in this particular sub-camp. Eventually, almost 40 smaller sub-camps were established mainly in the south of the country, some distance away from the camp. The historians are saying that over the almost 5 years of the camp existence, approximately 1,300,000 people were deported. In this number, great majority are Jewish people, brought to the camp because of the fact that they were Jewish, and they were brought here for extermination. The next group were Poles, brought at the beginning from the south of the country, then from many other places of occupied Poland. The next group, 75,000, were Sinti and Roma, considered by the Germans as antisocial, people hostile in German society, not integrated. So after Jewish people, they were the next ethnic group for total destruction. Then the people from many other European countries occupied by Germans. Most of them were people from our neighbor country, from today's Czech Republic. Again, they were mainly people respected in the society, leading some organizations, those who were suspected to join to build the resistance movement. Then from Western Europe, France, Holland, and also from the East, from Ukraine or from Belarus. The very first prisoners who were deported for Auschwitz in June 1940 were the Polish people. 728 men were brought for the camp on the 14th of June 1940. This day, the 14th of June, is considered as the beginning of the camp existence. Many of them were young men, students, soldiers of Polish army. Some of them were on the way to join the Polish forces which were organized at that time in Western Europe. They were caught on the border, sent for local prison, then to concentration camp. The prisoners in the camp, they were registered, they were photographed, they were given the uniforms, and by the German law, they were considered as those who were to work for German industry, as they were found of some crime according to the new law introduced. Until March 1942, only men were deported for the camp. After March, also women, and approximately 45,000 women were deported. The first actually transport of women deported for the camp were German women from Ravensbrück camp, 999 prisoners. The same day in the afternoon, they registered in the camp again 999 Slovak women. They were Jewish and they were sent for work. At the beginning, they did not present the frequent selections. In 1942, in January 1942, exactly on the 20th of January, there was a meeting, conference organized in Wannsee. Wannsee, it's a part of Berlin. And several a group of people gathered. They were representing the transport department, the economy responsible for the Eastern territories, and also the main figures of the Nazi Party were discussing just the technical aspect of so-called final solution of the Jewish question, the Endlösung, so-called in the literature. The idea was to send the Jewish people to the east for destruction. And the first question was how many Jewish people were living at that time in Europe. So from the surviving documentation, we know that they were considering to eliminate 11 million of Jewish people. Then the other question was where the people were to be sent. And several places were appointed in Eastern Europe, and Auschwitz as a place of extermination was also included in this project. Well, the camp was already in operation for almost 2 years. Birkenau as extension was under construction. So that was just the two elements which were in favor of including the place as the place of mass extermination. And here we may see the countries the Jewish people were brought from. So most of the Jewish people brought to the camp were from Hungary. The interesting thing is that they were brought, the deportation from Hungary was very late. Exactly, today we've got the 19th of March. So on the 19th of March 1944, the occupation of Hungary started very late. The deportation to Auschwitz started in May, mid-May 1945. And actually, within 56 days, until the beginning of July, they managed to send to Auschwitz from Hungary over 400,000 people. So the transports were mass transports, enormous scale. The next group are the Jewish people from Poland, then from France, Holland, Greece, Protectorate of Moravia Bohemia and Moravia, this is today's Czech Republic, Slovakia, Belgium, Germany and Austria, former Yugoslavia, it's mainly Croatia and Slovenia, Italy, and also from Scandinavia, also from Norway. The Jewish people who were deported for the camp, they were to pass the selection. As I mentioned at the beginning, the very first transport of women, for example, was sent for the camp, was registered. Since June 1942, they introduced just the regular selection. So the whole families who were sent to the camp and informed by the German authority that it's going to be relocation, that they are going to start a new life somewhere in Eastern Europe. They were allowed to take some belongings with them, usually 50 kilograms per person. They were promised job. Some of them were given even official documentation that they are going to be employed in some fictitious factories. Those who were occupying with farming, again, they were distributed some documentation proving that they are owners of particular land, which led them to start the new life. And just as they were brought for the camp, on the unloading platform, the physician, just looking at the person, was to decide who is fit for work and who is not fit for work. Young, healthy men and women were sent usually for work. Elderly people, invalids, disabled, women found of being pregnant, women with children, they were considered as not fit for work and sent for the gas chambers. The two photographs we show, one we have right now on the screen and the previous one, they are from extremely precious documentation. Documentation which was in fact prepared by two German officers. They were given the task to document the arrival of Jewish people. And in May 1944, in Birkenau, on the unloading platform, they took over 200 photographs, step by step, how the whole process was conducted. This album with photographs luckily survived the war, being for us great evidence of the crime committed there. So from the transport, as the commandant of Auschwitz, Rudolf Höss, told during the trial, usually 75% of the people were sent for death in the gas chambers. Only the small group was sent for the camp, and again they were to be the prisoners, they were to be the slave labor. And as the camp routine was showing, they were to be registered in the camp. They were to be given the number. They were tattooed the number on the left forearm, the same as the other prisoners. They were photographed and they were taken for work. We may see one of the female, also the male prisoner registered in the camp. In winter 1943, 42, and then 43, another group was discussed by the German authority, this time Sinti and Roma, Zigeuner, as they used to call them, the gypsies. They were in the literature and also in the official publications from the Nazi time considered as people who are hostile in German society, people not integrated, people who still were keeping their nomadic lifestyle, not settling, not having profession. So for that, several reasons, they were declared as another ethnic group which was to disappear from the German society. They were deported for the camps, and the truth is that at the beginning the authority did not have clear idea what to do with these people. So they were taken with the whole families for the barracks in Birkenau. They were they were to face horrible sanitary conditions. Starvation was again another great issue in the camp, and for that reason the mortality rate among the Sinti and Roma was enormous. On the 2nd of August 1944, the camp administration decided to liquidate the camp. So those who were still alive, approximately 3,000 people, were sent for the gas chambers. Then in 1941, in June, the war between Nazi Germany and Soviet Union started. And there were new prisoners sent for the camp again, this time Soviet prisoners of war. 10,000 of them were deported in the very first transports. Men sent for catastrophic treatment, terrible conditions. The first group were brought for Auschwitz in autumn, in October exactly, 1941, and winter in 1941 came very early. And the Soviet prisoners of war, most of the time they were kept outside the buildings. They were at the beginning not given any clothing. They were not given any food. So the diseases again were spreading enormously. So in spring 1942, the next year, so actually 4 months after the beginning, the deportation, from the number 10,000 men, only 900 were still alive. They were sent for Birkenau, and actually they started the construction of Birkenau. As I mentioned, there were then people from all over Europe. And here we may see the major groups, the Czechs, Belarusians, people from France, Germany, Austria, from Russia, from Slovenia, and also from Ukraine. One group of the prisoners here in the camp was having very special task. They were to be the supervisors. They were to build the camp hierarchy. They were to be capo, block Älteste, and the first brought for this position were German criminals. And they are being remembered by the prisoners as extremely brutal and cruel people. Then the other deported here, they were people who were just members of different organizations, like Vlastimila Kladivova from Czech. She was member of the communist youth, and because of her activity, she was arrested and deported to the camp. She survived the camp, and after the war was also very active in commemoration and also education about Auschwitz and Holocaust. Then there were people who are representing clergy, like the nun Maria Cecilia Auch from Austria. She was arrested because of the innocent conversation she was having in her hometown. She was talking to a person who had some relatives in the army, German army, and they were just exchanging information about the situation in the front, about many soldiers dying, German soldiers dying during the work, or being sent back home with the injuries. And Sister Auch commented on this, on the information that Hitler will be found responsible for all the atrocities which are happening in Europe those days. And this sentence was reported by this person to Gestapo, which was the police in Austria, and that was the reason why Sister Auch was arrested. First she was in Ravensbrück, then she was in Auschwitz, and she died in Auschwitz. At the end of the camp existence, she died here. Also from France, where the resistance movement was trying to organize different type of actions, many of the youth were arrested. Or even from countries which were not occupied by Germans, like Great Britain. Jane Henning, she was actually Scottish, but she was in Budapest, working there, helping, leading the school for girls and for helping especially Jewish people who were in needy. She was arrested, sent for the camp, and she died in the camp. So, as we may see, the prisoners of Auschwitz were people from all over Europe, people speaking different languages, people with different background, with different education. And they also brought their talent for the camp and hope to survive. And just this fact was the good ground for art, which happened in the camp. One of the survivors said that actually being in the camp and creating the art was for them the way to freedom and also the way of responsibility to, if they manage to survive or if the pieces of art will survive, that would be their testimony, that would be the message sent for the outside world. And let me first introduce you Peter Edel, deported for the camp from Germany. He was living in Berlin, Jewish person, artist. Before the war he was publishing, he was a drawer for some magazines, some newspapers in Germany, arrested because of his Jewish background. The other members of the family were also arrested. And Peter Edel, because of the age, a man in his 30s, was considered as fit for work and sent for the camp. And being the prisoner, he was extremely moved with the fact how the people are changing being the prisoners. So in this small and we may see very simple drawing, he's asking the question, who is it? You? Yes. Just like two questions and one answer. It's just his reflection to the changes he noticed in his appearance. So the man we may see on the back, this is him before the arrest. And then after a short period of time, just few months of staying in the camp, the person, because of the conditions, because of the terror, because of the overwork, malnutrition, and the horrible treatment, started to look like a person, like a walking skeleton, as they used to describe themselves. He also left on the drawing some information which are telling us exactly the place he was. He drew here the main entrance for the camp, Arbeit macht frei. So this is why we know exactly that he was, all this happened in Auschwitz camp. Another person who was sent for the camp also because of the fact that was Jewish was Josef Sapkaro, this time from Belgium. He was an architect, a man in his 30s, a family man, a father of 2 boys. And when the mass arrest among the Jewish people started in occupied Belgium, the parents decided that the 2 boys are to stay in a shelter. So they found some Christian friends who took the 2 boys and provide them the place to stay until the end of the war. Josef Sapkaro, together with his wife, were arrested and both sent for Auschwitz. His wife did not have much chances to stay in the camp. She died very shortly in the camp. But Joseph Sapkaru, because of his job, because of his profession, engineer, architect, was having a little bit more chances to survive. And very important document did survive the camp. This is so-called personal bogen, a chart which was prepared for someone who became prisoner. So here we may see on the top that Joseph Sapkaru was Jewish. We may read Schutzhäftling, so the prisoner arrested because of the protective custody, Jude, what means the Jewish, and his camp number. Then his name, surname, the place of birth, the place of the date of birth, the place he was living, information about his relatives, the languages he spoke even are written in the document, and also the profession, which says that he was engineer, architect. In the subcamp I mentioned you, there was the building going on, and for that reason they needed people with certain skills. Not only prisoners were employed around this area, there were also some so-called civil workers, so the people from the local villages, from the town, who were to do some design, some particular work. One of the persons who was sent for this job was a girl in her early 20s, Elżbieta Szczęś, and knowing that the prisoners are in such a catastrophic conditions, constant lack of food, lack of medicine, no much chances to communicate with the relatives, risking her life, she was bringing day by day small parcels with food for the prisoners who were around her. Food, also medicines. The prisoners were not having much chances to thank her for this very long time of helping, a very simple way of helping. So when she was having her birthday, Joseph Sapkaru decided to draw the card, the beautiful flowers, and also here on the drawing, he signed the drawing. Here I put the two documents, the personal bogen, so the document, official German administration document, on which we may see he also have to sign, and then the signature from the drawing, and also he put the year, 1944. Elżbieta wrote on the back of this card the names of the prisoners who were just thanking her for her help. That was not that often. Basically, some of the people from the local area who were involved in help were trying not to have much contact with the prisoners, basically because of the security. If they were caught by the Germans, they just didn't know who exactly they were helping, and it protected both from some persecution, from some arrest. Joseph Sapkaru did survive the camp. He returned back to Belgium. He found his two little sons, and together the three men left Europe. They left for Canada. He settled in Canada, still being the architect, and stayed in this country until his death in the 70s. Also, as I mentioned, the women were prisoners of this camp. Some of them were at the beginning sent from Ravensbrück, and one of the very talented and very active in trying to illustrate the camp life was Maria Hiszpańska. She was Polish, she was the student of Art Academy, arrested because she was a member of patriotic organizations. And being in the camp again on any type of material she could find around, she was trying to illustrate what was happening around. And one of the drawing, again very simple, illustrate the women, the female inmates of Ravensbrück at the time of the work. She was caught one day by one of the supervisors with these tiny drawings, and she was heavily punished for that. She survived the punishments, she survived the beating, and then she was more careful with what she was doing with all the tiny pieces, tiny illustrations. So to survive, to protect them, she was hiding this in the jar. Then before the liberation, the other inmates decided that it's the way to protect some other materials. And for example, as some of the inmates of Ravensbrück were victims of experimentation, a list of names was also hidden in this jar together with the drawings. They were found after the war, and again, they are extremely exceptional evidence of the crime committed in those places. Not only illustration was the will to convey the horror of Auschwitz. Also, Maria Hiszpańska, as educated person, got involved in some lectures provided to the other inmates. Many of the prisoners were young girls, teenagers, members of Scout movement, some other organizations. Girls at the time of their life that they should be at school, they should learn, they should have knowledge. And being aware of the fact that they are missing something important, the other inmates were organizing for them lectures of languages, mathematics, and Maria Hiszpańska was delivering the lectures about art history. When Auschwitz became the museum, there was so much work concerning conservation to be done. Actually, it's still the most important task in the museum, the protection of the objects. And in one of the building, in the base, in the foundation, the sketchbook was found. Again, it was hidden, it was protected from water or any other conditions which may destroy the drawings. And there are no words in these drawings. They are just illustrations. It's only written the two letters MM, so we know who is the author of these drawings. And some of the drawings we can easily identify with particular places. So it means that the author really illustrated what he saw day by day in Birkenau camp. This time that was Birkenau. Then we have another illustration, most probably the moment that they are to collect all the corpses of the prisoners who died in the camp, and they were taken for crematorium. There are no words, so it's very hard to describe, but another person who was trying to hide some notes in other situation just was saying the wish in this phrase: "Dear finder of these notes, I am handing over to you a part of a very small one which doesn't say enough about what was really happening in the hell of Auschwitz-Birkenau. You have imagined yourself what they really looked like." The prisoners were people from all over Europe. of different background, of different approach to life, different character. Some of them were young, and even in this abnormal situation, they were trying to find the way for a moment of relief, which was love, which was humor, which was the moment of feeling the community. A person like this was the young man we may see on the camp photograph, Stanisław Trauka, a student from Krakow, student of Jagiellonian University, who also wanted to join the Polish army, but was arrested and became the prisoner of Auschwitz. A man with many talents, so he was sent for some office work for the German administration. And secretly, having many contacts with the German guards, German soldiers, German officers, he decided to make kind of caricatures of them. So on one of them we may see the two German soldiers trying to take the photograph. And in the caption, which is here in German, he's asking the officer to smile, to make a nice face. He made to draw several this type of drawings, not only about the German guards, also the other prisoners who were around him. Some of them are very friendly, very nice, and also showing the character of the person. Stanisław Trauka, although he was young, he was talented, he was skilled, he did not survive the camp. And he died. And here we have another very precious camp documentation, which was the death certificate. So as you may see, in the camp administration, everything was documented precisely. The time of arrival, the time the person was given the number, became the prisoner, and also the time the person died, as they issued official document. So it's written that the student, Schiller, what means the student, Stanisław Trauka from Krakow, died on the 2nd of October 1942. Even in the document, it's written the time he died. And notice, please, here is another line, which is to say where exactly the person died. So we've got Auschwitz, which was in fact the name of the town. Auschwitz was not only camp. Auschwitz was the name of the town where the camp was organized. So in the town called Auschwitz, he died. And then we have Kasernenstraße, so the name of the street where the camp was located. Not a word about the fact that the man died in concentration camp. He died as the prisoner of concentration camp. So this is how also the crime committed was being constantly camouflated, constantly hidden by the official camp documentation. When Auschwitz became the museum in 1947, that was the official decision of Polish Parliament. Those who stayed in the camp, those who were taking care of this place, the first two directors of the museum, the first guides in the museum were the survivors of Auschwitz. Many of them, to illustrate what they had been through in a better way, prepared many drawings. And one of them was Mieczysław Kościelniak. Brought to the camp in the first years of the camp existence. And again, he was found very early, very quickly by the Germans as a man with some drawing talents. So he was used by the camp administration for different type of the work. So this way he could avoid the very heavy, badly organized labor most of the prisoners were sent. From Auschwitz, he was transported to Germany. He was first to eventually sent for Mauthausen, a concentration camp. And when the liberation was very close, he started to suffer terribly from the results of the camp staying. He was liberated in Mauthausen by the American troops. And again, during his recovery in the hospital, he found some material, and all the soldiers who were around, they were having portraits. He was making different drawings just for the American soldiers. They noticed that he's very good in making this type of illustration. So when General Patton visited the hospital, visited this place, he also prepared the portrait for General Patton. A few days later, there was another visit of the camp for the liberated prisoners, and this time General Eisenhower was in this group. And again, Mieczysław Kościelniak prepared a drawing for General Eisenhower. All the drawings were taken with the army to the United States, and most probably are still somewhere in the collections. But one of the drawings you may see on the exhibition is strictly relating for the time he was in the camp. So he illustrates the moment that they were coming back from work, and we may see the prisoners who were to carry those who were unable to walk, all those who died, because according to the camp regulation, the number of the prisoners was to be the same. So this is why the dead prisoners were to be transported back for the camp. And in one of his testimonies, he said, "We believed that souvenirs, images of those murdered will endure beyond our death. The families who received such portraits treated them as relics. I know many families of our murdered colleagues from whom only these portraits reminded." Last week in Poland, again another survivor was being mentioned, Józef Szajna, and he hadn't done anything at the time when he was imprisoned. He didn't have occasion, he didn't have possibilities, he didn't have material, and also, as he said, he struggled to survive. Only after the liberation, when he finished his education, he became very famous artist for the theater. He was back with his mind, with his mission to what he had been through at the time of the Second World War. So here we may see one of his arts done after the liberation. It's like his illustration of the colleagues, the fingerprints, and here these little straps, they may indicate the uniforms they have to wear. Then in one of the interview, he said, "Through the art, I do not pass only judgment, but first of all, I accuse the time. It's a bad time during which a man has neglected himself." This is how he, as a professor, as a person with experience, described the time of his staying in the camp. Ladies and gentlemen, the 20 photographs you may have a chance to see here in this library, they show something which is quiet, which is silent, which is, when we look for the first time, we may get some visual effects and impressions. But each of these objects is telling us a lot about many people, not one person, about many people, because they were either made for some families, thinking about the families, or they were made for the people who were around the prisoners. And again, they illustrate their faith and their common tragedy. So I believe for all of you, it will be a very special occasion to see these objects. And I am sure that the young people coming here, learning about this object, learning about the history, will also have so many different, very important thoughts and reflections in their mind. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention and for coming here.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It is such an honor to have you here. Thank you for traveling all the way from Poland, from the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum of Poland. Thank you. Thank you, J.J. Przwozniak from the Polish Mission of the Orchard Lake Schools. Excuse me, the long titles. The Polish Mission of the Orchard Lake Schools. The exhibit was recently in West Point. That was its latest exhibit space before coming here. And by the way, it was there as late as last weekend. You may have heard they had a bit of a storm Monday and Tuesday. JJ worked tirelessly to make sure that the exhibit was here tonight for you, or otherwise we'd just be showing you little photographs of it. So thank you so much. I talked to him earlier this week and he was running on 3 hours of sleep. Thank you greatly. Thank you, Jory and Gallo also, yes. Thank you also, Jory and Gallo, for being our special master or mistress of ceremonies tonight. And thank you all for being here.
I am now here with
Teresa Wątorcichy,
who we are honored to have as the guest speaker. What made you want to come here and speak at this event?
Well, just since this day here in the library there is the exhibition Forbidden Art presented, and it's 20 photographs of objects, of pieces of art which are in Auschwitz Museum collection. All these pieces are illustrating the history of this place, and especially illustrating, talking so much about people, about the prisoners who were, for various reasons, sent for the camp, who struggled to survive. Some of them successfully managed to survive. In few cases, they died. But also, it's like a message which is being spread via these drawings for all those people who are interested, who want to know. Of course, the first intention was just to show the reality, just to be responsible for the message sent outside. They have no idea that the war would be over in 1945. They have no idea if the drawings would ever survive. But with their sensitivity, responsibility, wisdom, awareness, that was what was the principle of why they, risking the life in many cases, decided to leave the drawings or to make some sculptures, as we may also see on the exhibition.
Thank you for your time. Here we are with
Bob O'Brien.
What do you think of the art exhibit?
Well, it's just very moving to to see these pieces of art by the people who were making them in just the worst possible conditions that people have ever been in, but to see that they were compelled from, I don't know, just a testament to the human spirit that these people were able to make art in such a situation, and to see just all of the reasons that they were moved to make art, and the resourcefulness that they had to do that, and also to preserve it, which of course was not allowed. So I'm just very grateful to be able to see the exhibit.
The artwork here tonight is so moving. I am here with
Andrea Dixon.
What does this piece of artwork mean to you?
I think it helps shows the humanity and the people that were affected by the Holocaust, and it puts a face to the history behind it.
What does this exhibit mean to you?
It's a reminder of what we were fighting for over there. My wife and I have both visited Dachau and Auschwitz-Birkenau, so we've seen some of the results firsthand. And as I say, it serves as a reminder that this is something we can't let happen again anywhere.
What do you think of the art exhibit?
Well, I think this is a great exhibit. It depicts the historical values that we need to remember for the future.
Hi, I'm here with.
Irene Miller.
What were your experiences like during the war?
You know, it is too complicated for me to say in one sentence what were my experiences. I am a Holocaust survivor, but my survival journey was very different than what is commonly known. I survived through, and I have been in a number of countries and was thrown from area to area, sleeping in the outdoors in winter for about 6 weeks, being in a Siberian labor camps when the bears come to the door front, living in Asia on boiled grass and leaves, and so on and so on. If you want to know the story of my life, I would suggest read my memoir published by the University of Michigan. It's called Into No Man's Land, a historical memoir.